provides excellent controllability during takeoff, landing, and hovering, but it is not efficient during cruise flight. On the contrary, Blackfly offers a better performance during forwarding flight at the expense of a somewhat awkward takeoff, landing, and hovering position. For the U.S. market, both aircraft are
the well-known Expect X2 and the newcomer from Turkey Aircar. These are pretty slow drones with a short flight range, designed for intracity flights. While prices have not yet been revealed, unofficial estimates put them between $150,000 and $200,000. With the development of mass production and competition, there's no reason the price could, replacing a private car for everyday use. Winged multicopters are suitable, such as the Israeli Air One and the English Skyfly Axe. Yes, they can hardly be called cars, but they fly better than others. Wings generate about two-thirds. The base price of Skyfly Axe on the official website is listed at £150,000, and this is without a patent.
Flies over rolling hills that look like they belong on a postcard, cruises over an orchard, and finally touches down on a landing pad at Furniture Home.
We're moving closer and closer to a world where flying cars could soon become the norm. It's a fully flying car. They want this on the road by 2030. From cars that turn into small airplanes to vertical takeoff drone-like vehicles. Today, we're going to show you the world's best flying cars, including some that's actually really well. This is going to be a prototype of the world's first flying car. The X2 looks more like a drone than having the wheels, and although X-Tech classifies it as a flying car, we think it's going to be more like an oversized.
And the Subcommittee on Transportation and Maritime Security will come to order. Without objection, the gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Maliatakis, and the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Smith, are permitted to sit on the dais and ask questions of the witnesses. The purpose of this hearing is to receive testimony from expert witnesses from the federal government and as well as the private sector about the growing threat of unmanned aerial systems, more commonly known as UASs or drones. We will hear from two panels today, and our first panel consists of three witnesses from the federal government. You solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before the Committee on Homeland Security of the United States of House of Representatives will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. Thank you. Let the record reflect that the witnesses have answered in the affirmative. I'll now introduce the witnesses. Mr. Keith Jones is the Deputy Executive Assistant Commissioner for Air and Marine Operations. He has over 32 years of law enforcement experience. Notably, he has helped found the San Diego sector's Border Patrol Search, Trauma, and Rescue Team and was the principal primary driver of its national expansion. Mr. Robert Wheeler Jr. serves as the Assistant Director of the FBI's Critical Incident Response Group. His responsibilities include providing expertise in crisis management, negotiations, hazardous devices and tactical operations, behavioral assessment, surveillance, and aviation. He joined the division in July of this year. And Mr. Bragg Wigman serves as the Deputy Assistant Attorney General for National Security at the U.S. Department of Justice. He has spent his career as a government attorney with legal experience at the Department of Defense, Department of State, and at the National Security Council. We thank all of you for being here today. We will now, I thank the witnesses for their opening statements. Members will now be recognized by order of seniority for 5 minutes of questioning. An additional round of questioning may be called after all members have been recognized, and also knowing that we have a second panel. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questioning. Let's just start with current events, and I'll ask an open-ended question. What is going on in New Jersey?
So, sir, the FBI and our Newark field office, along with the state and local partners there, the Bureau is actively investigating the situation you mentioned, just the unexplained sighting of drone activity over that part of New Jersey, including proximity to sensitive sites and areas of concern. So we do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights. But we're actively investigating. What the Bureau has done to aid our state and local partners is what we generally do, enlist the help of the interagency, enlist the help of the public. There's a tip line there, that 1-800-CALL-FBI, tips.fbi, for information from the public that could help us resolve this. It is concerning.
Is the public at risk? Is public safety at risk? Are we concerned that there are nefarious intentions that could cause either national security or a public safety incident that would put Americans at risk?
There's nothing that is known that would lead me to say that, but we just don't know, and that's the concerning part.
I think the fact that we have these unknown drones, U.A.S.s, that are flying over either critical or sensitive facilities is exactly why we're having this hearing. And Mr. Jones, actually for anybody on the panel, let me just say, we go back to last year, there were incidents, including Langley Air Force Base, where for over a week we had unknown drones flying over a very sensitive military installation with F-22s and other, weapon systems on the ground. And I think that was cause for concern. So from a DHS standpoint, either on a border mission or from an FBI or DOJ, you mentioned, Mr. Wheeler, we don't necessarily have the authorities we need. Why can't we take action against these drones that are flying over sensitive sites? Why are we not taking action against drones that are flying over sensitive sites?
So authority exists to mitigate a U.A.S. in flight when authorized, and that could certainly apply to a sensitive site. I would be a little measured in speaking for the Department of Defense for those sites that are in question here, but I will say that we're, for the FBI, in a position, close liaison relationship with the Department of Defense and those areas that you mentioned, and will help in every way possible. But for securing those particular sites in this way, it is a DoD equity.
SUV-sized drones in New Jersey. Dozens of reports seen near military bases, armories, civilian areas, over people's houses, properties owned by President-elect Trump. The FBI says they've been investigating it for a month. A month? But many, like my next guests, say the response has been tepid. What could they be, and how is this so hard to figure out? Joining us now is New Jersey State Senator John Bramnick and former defense and intel official who investigated UFOs for the federal government, Luis Elizondo. Thank you for having both of you here. I appreciate it. Senator, let me ask you, what do you make of how your requests to satisfy people's curiosity have been met by other officials?
Not very well. Either the government doesn't know anything, or the government is in a position where it's an embarrassment to the people of the state of New Jersey, because people already come to the table with distrust of government. This adds to distrust. And I'm deeply concerned that people are going to come up with conspiracy theories. You see them on the internet all the time. So this doubled down, and it double downs on the people who make up theories and also don't trust government. So it has a double whammy on government.
Have they told you anything, Senator, about what to say or what to think?
The only thing I heard is Governor Murphy did a press conference while he was signing another bill, and he indicated he wasn't concerned with the safety of residents. But the residents I represent are deeply concerned that they need a lot more information than a blanket statement that it's still safe out there. That's simply not enough. We're going to have a briefing tomorrow in Trenton, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say.
Well, you got a platform here to tell the country what you're finding out and what you're not finding out whenever you want it. Mr. Elizondo, it's good to have you again. What's your guess on this? I mean, look, the good news is you see a lot of navigation lights on these things. You see red and greens on a lot of these, which, as you know, are familiar lighting that people put on drones over a certain size. What's your guess as to why there's so many over Jersey all of a sudden?
Well, Chris, surprisingly enough, it's not just over Jersey. Recently, over a few weeks ago, we had a very similar issue over Langley Air Force Base, one of our most sensitive military installations. And frankly, if you look back the last 4 or 5 years, there was actually a very similar occurrence back in Colorado, where for weeks, local and state law enforcement officials were chasing these things in the skies, almost doing a racetrack pattern, and no one seemed to know what the heck was going on. Actually, this is one of the very reasons why I decided to testify before Congress a few weeks ago, because quite frankly, we don't really have control of our U.S. airspace. We don't have awareness of what are in our skies.
Do you believe that the FBI has been looking for a month and doesn't have any answer about what these are when there's so many?
Well, I've worked with the FBI in the past, and they tend to be very, very competent when they're doing investigations. I do believe they have some answers. I don't think they have all the answers yet. What further makes this more complicated, you have an issue where these things are being seen over civilian airspace, so you have jurisdictional issues, right? You have, from a federal perspective, you have FBI leading the law enforcement investigation, but you also have the Department of Defense. You have folks like the U.S. Air Force and Office of Special Investigations. You have DHS and even the FAA. And so all these federal agencies, forget about even the state and local agencies, are trying to work together and try to deconflict what's in the skies. And unfortunately, they just don't seem to have a common operating picture right now of exactly what we're dealing with.
You think they're wrong about the size? Because, it's not easy to find drones of any significant size on the commercial market.
Yeah, so here's the problem, Chris. Great point. We know that commercial drones tend to be a typical size, and they use a certain amount of power, if you will, and have a certain amount of loiter time, a certain amount of range. And typically can be anywhere between 15, maybe 20 minutes if you're lucky. And then you have to have line of sight in order to control these things. If you talk about anything bigger than that, you're really talking about a state-sponsored capability. This isn't a hobbyist. This isn't a drone that someone buys, let's say, from Radio Shack or buys from Amazon. This is something far more complex that can be flown beyond line of sight, i.e. over the horizon, and has a loiter capability in some cases of several hours. And if you're talking about an SUV size or larger potentially drone, this is a problem. Look, the U.S. Navy has been reporting these types of drones, in some cases the size of cars and even bigger, for years now. And this is exactly emphasizing the point why we need to take this topic seriously.
Mysterious drones.
Look, guys, there's one there, one there, one there.
Turning into thousands of posts going viral online.
Coming in one after one.
With people from coast to coast now spending a lot more time looking up and pointing their cameras into the night.
This is bizarre. There's more over there, look.
Some could be optical illusions, planes that seem closer than they are.
You can hear that one. That is definitely a plane.
But others have defied normal explanation.
What the f***?
Car-sized drones operating for hours in restricted airspace and able to elude local law enforcement when they send their own drones up to give chase. In New Jersey, the Army reporting the Picatinny Arsenal has had 11 unauthorized drone incursions in the last month.
Look what's back again. Same spot as last night.
21 local mayors now demanding answers from the state.
The minute you get eyes on them, they go dark. This is something we're taking deadly seriously.
The entire month before that, it was nightly drone incursions over Langley Air Force Base.
Let's just start with current events.
Today, a congressional hearing on Capitol Hill on the national security threat drones pose.
What is going on in New Jersey?
We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights.
But for those who see them on a nightly basis,
not a plane. That is a drone in the airspace.
The drones are a very real reminder.
Almost hear a little bit of a hum.
That our airspace,
it's a very little thermal signature,
is not as secure as we might hope.
All right, so there's a big difference between me going outside or someone else going outside that doesn't really have training and looking up, and those cops that went outside and were looking up, and then a mayor of Mine Hill Township, Sam Morris, who went outside as well, and he saw something weird. Mayor Morris, thanks so much for being with us. Can you walk us through exactly what you've seen in your skies and what's being done about it?
Sure. You know, of course, I was aware of this issue, but last Tuesday night it kind of came full force into my life with a resident who I know well, lives a block from me, reported to me that there were 8 drones over our school and municipal complex using the rules against us. And that's always, you know, it happens in a civilized society, but whatever they're doing, they don't care what the rules are. They're 11 drones, it's been admitted now, 11 drones have gone over Picatinny Arsenal, which is about 5 miles from here in a direct line. Those drones should have been blown out of the sky. Why are we putting up with this? Why are we putting up with this?
You're not talking about like the TFR temporary flight restriction rules. You're talking about literally just blasting them out of the sky.
They have Picatinny Arsenal is a weapons development center. Okay, it's a high-tech place. It's in a rural area, which is, and it's beautiful, but it's a high-tech place. If you're the bad guys, you want to know what's going on at Picatinny. They went into Picatinny's airspace. That's a violation of the law. It has to be. You know, I don't have the chapter and verse of the U.S. code, but if I did that and they came back and tracked that I put a drone over, or an average person, somebody put a drone over, we'd be in big federal trouble. I don't know why they even put up with letting them go over like that. And then my understanding, Langley and then several other bases in New Jersey, they're doing that. What I don't really understand is the testimony from the FBI today. He said, well, the FAA has rules about what we can do and how we can engage these drones. Well, what is the FAA going to come and arrest the FBI if they take care of a little business? I mean, give me a break. These things can be brought down, and I've been saying this all week. These drones have a battery life. They have to come back to the Earth at some point, and somebody's controlling them. Just follow them to where they're going. Now, I know they're saying, oh, they go dark. Well, we have high tech. We have night vision. We have tracking devices. We can track onto one of these drones in a helicopter and follow it anywhere it goes. Even if it goes dark, you can follow it. So we have extreme technology in our military. They need to go do that. We need to get to the bottom of this, because what my residents are reporting to me, and all the other mayors in all the other counties in Jersey are reporting to them, they don't feel comfortable or safe with people over their head who are not regulated. Everybody knows a plane's going to go by, everything like that. But this has gotten ridiculous. And this testimony today was horrible, horrible.
And Mr. Mayor, one question. Is there a chance that this is something from Picatinny or something that the U.S. military is testing that they may not want to share? Or have you been assured,
well,
like, no,
sure,
that's not the
right?
case?
The guy in my position doesn't know any of that. And unfortunately, residents think, you know, because you're the mayor, you know everything, right? Oh, you really know. You really don't. We're really befuddled. But I can tell you, Picatinny's close enough to hear that a lot of people